Our first inductee in the players category played his minor lacrosse in his hometown of Coquitlam, winning the BC Lacrosse Association's Minor Lacrosse Boy Award as a midget in 1986, before joining the Junior Adanacs in 1987, where he spent 5 very successful seasons. The Junior A's were Minto Cup runners-up in 1988, and in 1989, his 92 points placed him 3rd in league scoring, earning him a berth on the Junior A first All-Star team, as well as the league's most sportsmanlike player award. His playing time was cut short by injuries the following year, but in 1991, his final year of junior ball, he returned with a vengeance. He recorded 139 points, consisting of 55 goals and 84 assists, good for 2nd spot in league scoring, his team's most valuable player award, and a 2nd berth on the BC Junior A first All-Star team. Over his 118-game junior career, he tallied 135 goals and 220 assists for 355 points, an average of over 3 points per game, while picking up only 57 minutes in penalties. See, Fong, they took the digit off of your penalties for Kevin's, obviously. His rare combination of offensive skill, including a booming outside shot and an uncanny playmaking ability, and outstanding physical yet disciplined defensive play, made him an obvious choice as the WLA's first overall draft choice in 1992, a choice made by the Vancouver Burrards. He played 1 season with the Burrards before joining his hometown Coquitlam Adanacs in 1993 and remained with the A's for the next 11 seasons. His first year back in purple and gold was an eventful one, as the A's won the WLA title and played in the first of his 3 Mann Cup series, falling to the Brampton Excelsiors. And the following season, he was named to the league's first All-Star team. 1995 saw him have his best offensive season, notching 40 goals and tacking on 33 helpers for 73 points, good enough for 7th spot in WLA scoring and another All-Star berth, this time on the 2nd team. He returned to the 2nd All-Star team in 1996, and in 1998, the A's were back in the Mann Cup, led by his 2nd first All-Star team performance, but again fell to Brampton. In 2001, the Adanacs finally reached the promised land, or at least the lacrosse version. Although hobbled by injuries throughout the regular season, he had an outstanding playoff, recording over a point per game while maintaining his solid defensive play, and the A's again faced the Excelsiors in the Mann Cup final. This time it was Coquitlam who prevailed, winning a thrilling 7-game series to capture the franchise's first national title. He retired after the 2003 season, but not before playing parts of 3 seasons in the NLL, racking up 38 points in 27 games, most of them with the Vancouver Ravens. In 331 total Senior A and NLL games, he scored 316 goals and added 380 assists for 696 total points, over 2 per game, all the while maintaining his dedication to outstanding defensive play and a disciplined, sportsmanlike approach to the game, as evidenced by his remarkable total of only 116 penalty minutes in his senior career. Some guys get that in a period. Anyway. An average of, most of my former teammates, actually. An average of less than 1 minor penalty every 2 games. And that just is amazing. In an era in which players strove to be the best player, not the best O guy or the best D guy, but the best player they could be, he stood tall. A dependable offensive threat from anywhere on the floor, and a consistent top 10 scorer, and a skilled physical defender who could be relied upon in any and all situations. Tonight we welcome an outstanding 2A player and a true gentleman to the Hall of Fame. Please welcome Kevin Brunsch.
First off, a sincere thanks to the Induction Committee for inducting me into the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. It is the highest honor in our sport, and I'm flattered and grateful to be recognized today. To be a part of 324 players, like Dave mentioned, since 1966 is truly an honor, so thank you. I would also like to take this time to congratulate the other 2019 inductees and make a few comments to those that I was able to cross paths with during my career. The Whitby team of '84 You guys were a few years ahead of me, but I remember watching that game in Queen's Park when you beat the New West Salmon Bellies. I also had the pleasure of playing with Bill Callan. Bill, you got roasted a little bit tonight. Bill was a great teammate, which I know you guys know. He was a great two-way player, and I'm sure he was a big part of your successes both years, as I know he was a huge part of the ADNAC program. Johnny Wilson, one of the most naturally gifted offensive players during my playing career, both in junior and senior. I was fortunate to finish my career playing alongside him when we won the Mann Cup in 2001. Nice job, Johnny. Dan Teat, had the pleasure of competing with Dan in 3 Mann Cups, 93, 98, and 01. It was nice that Dan allowed us to win 1, as he went on to win 5 as a player. Thanks, Dan. Dave Wilfong, had the great experience to be coached by Dave and to work with him when he came to Langley to coach my oldest boys team. Dave was always good at stressing the importance of the team and instilling the confidence in athletes to achieve more as a group as opposed to the individuals. Paul Domani. I was fortunate to have Paul as a coach for 2 years while playing with the Ravens. I learned a lot from Paul in a very short period of time. The importance of planning, scouting the competition, developing strategy, game by game, and the importance of being organized and disciplined. No one was more prepared than Paul. Next, I'd like to thank the 2 individuals who nominated me to join the Hall. Denis Quigley. Denis was an assistant coach with the senior ADNACs for the majority of my career, and similar to Fong, I was lucky enough to get reacquainted with Denis when he came to Langley to coach the Midget A team, which both my sons played for. Not many have given back to the sport like Denis has, whether it's head coaching, assistant coaching, or volunteering for different roles in the BCLA. Thank you, Denis, for your patience as a coach, your commitment in giving back to the sport, and for nominating me to the Hall of Fame. To the late Les Wingrove. After Denis had called to let me know he was putting my name forward, I received a call from Les. Those that know Les know that it wasn't a short phone call, so I won't go into all of the detail. But I will always remember the compliment he paid me. He said, "Kevin, you were a big part of the ADNAC success for many years. We had a good run, and it's our time to be recognized." Les meant a lot to me, and I will talk a little bit more about Les in a few minutes. So many people to thank and so many people to recognize. I'm going to try and be as quick as possible. My minor playing days started in '75 as a 5-year-old in Coquitlam. Little did I know it was the start of being an ADNAC for the next 28 years. As a young player growing up, I was a huge lacrosse fan. I was very fortunate to live 2 blocks from the Palace on Poirier Street, and to have a dad that would take me to watch the Jayhawks on Wednesday nights and the ADNACs on Saturday nights. My 2 favorite players back in those days were Jim Aitchison with the senior ADNACs and Mike Reilly with the junior Jayhawks. 2 players that I'm extremely honored to be joining in the Hall of Fame. In recognition of Jim, I wore number 3 through minor and junior, and switched to 33 in senior as the great number 3 was hanging on the rafters. I view myself as a bit of a throwback to the old 2-way game, where players were asked to excel in both ends of the floor, similar to what H.E. and Reels did. I'd like to thank my teammates and friends throughout minor, of which a couple are here tonight. Paulo Sciardulo and Hall of Famer Kurt Malowski. Paul and I started as 5-year-olds, and Kurt Malowski moved to Coquitlam shortly after. The 3 of us played sports together all year long, as we played soccer in the winter and lacrosse in the summer. From minor all the way through junior, we spent countless hours at the box with our teammates, especially in junior, where Smith Box became our home away from home. Kurt and I played a little longer than Paulo, and it was a highlight for me when Kurt came back to the senior ADNACs and we were able to capture the Mann Cup in 2001. As kids, we attended a lot of ADNAC games together. Who could have imagined that 20 years later, we'd be hoisting the Mann Cup together, and now both Hall of Famers. Second, my coach for the majority of my minor lacrosse playing days, the late Jock McGilvery. I was extremely fortunate to have Jock as my coach from the age of 7 until I was 16. Jock was a non-parent coach that treated myself and several others like Kurt, Paulo, Gord Cast, and Glenn Gopal like kids of his own. He put in countless hours teaching us the game of lacrosse and spoiled us with team trips to 7-Eleven for Slurpees and team barbecues at his house. Thanks, Jock. On to junior. After 4 or 5 games of intermediate, Les Ringrove moved me up to the junior Adanacs, where I stayed and played for the next 5 years. Les and Ted Fridge had a great team and an extremely well-run organization. Unfortunately, for my first 2 years, there were a couple guys on the island named Paul and Gary Gate, along with a pretty strong supporting cast that stood in the way of our success. In '87, we lost in the Western Finals to the Legion, and in '88, we lost to them in the Minto Cup after beating Peterborough in the round robin. Reflecting back, junior lacrosse were some of the best years of my life. Camping trips, team parties, rookie nights, some great experiences and memories. It's a lot of laughs and a lot of fun, and a chance to play with so many exceptional people. A few standouts for me. And this is tough because you can run on and on forever like HE did a few years back, more than a few years back. But a few standouts for me. Trevor Wingrove, Wade Dean, Jeff Gombar, Ken Thomas, Troy Cordingley, Chris Gill, Dave Balick, Rod McLeod, Kevin Linton, Darren Fridge, Lance Andre, Scott Wortley, and the list goes on. A little shorter than HE's, eh, Dave? After the '91 junior season, I was fortunate to be drafted #1 overall by the Berards in the senior draft, which was a situation, in hindsight, I could have handled much better. Could have handled much better by embracing the compliment of going first overall. As I mentioned, I was a huge Adanac fan growing up, so it was tough to imagine leaving Coquitlam after junior to play for another organization. I owe the Berards a big apology, and I thank them for following through on a commitment to trade me back to Coquitlam if things weren't working out, which they did the following year. Going back to the Adanacs was like going home, as I still live 2 blocks from the arena, and for the next 11 years, we were fortunate to enjoy many winning seasons, competing in 8 Western Finals, 3 Man Cups, capped off by winning the first and only Man Cup for the Adanacs in 2001. The success we enjoyed did not come without the hard work of many volunteers. Our training staff, Billy, Bobby, Ian Dunsmuir, Dean Katopsky, equipment managers like Rob Zink, Ken McMath, team managers, team statistician, Stan Shillington, Bob Johnson, who I played for and played with, as Bob was our coach when we won the Man Cup in '01. Also, I'd like to specifically thank 2 individuals. Doc Hedges. Doc spoiled us as players and provided the best medical care and attention that anyone could hope for. I had multiple knee issues over the years, and Doc was always able to fast-track the surgeries with some of the best in the business. Not sure how many of you followed the NBA Finals last year, but the top medical personnel for the Raptors and Warriors were Alex McKechnie and Rick Celebrini. Doc had both these guys on speed dial for us for many years. I can safely say, with the knee issues I had over the years, starting in junior, there's no way I would have had the career I did if it wasn't for Doc Hedges. Thanks, Doc. The late Les Wingrove, who I mentioned earlier, as a player, Les really looked after me, aging me up early in junior, as well as putting the trade together to bring me back to Coquitlam in '93. No one was more dedicated to the Adanac organization than Les. He worked harder and spent more time to make sure we were competitive year in and year out. I know how much I talked to Les over the years. I can't imagine how many phone hours were spent with the people in this room. But Les loved the sport and the people of lacrosse. I miss those talks, and I appreciate the impact Les had on my career and my life. Be remiss if I didn't talk about my experience with the Ravens. While it took place at the end of my career, when I was on the verge of being washed up, it was a great couple of seasons when the Ravens started up in Vancouver. Gave me the opportunity to suit up with many guys that I'd battled against for many years, Guys like Darren Reisig, Grant Hamilton, Chris Pratt, and Rich Catton, to mention a few. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Dave Evans and Paul Domani for selecting me to be part of that great experience before I retired. Thanks, guys. Before thanking my family and friends, I'd like to say thanks to all the players I played with and competed against. So many great battles on the floor and so many great times off the floor. I really miss the camaraderie in the dressing room. Guys like Andy Ogilvie, a great all-round player. Jason Mulder, a great player, but also a great comedian. Pat Coyle, a great captain and great leader, and not a great comedian. Family, to my mother and father-in-law, nieces and nephews, and table of friends, thank you for your support, and thanks for being here tonight. To my brother and two sisters, you attended a lot of my games as a youngster and all the big games as I was older. I think I can still hear my older sister yelling at the referees. Thank you very much for the support. To my boys, Josh and Kyle, while you were too young to remember my games, I'm very happy and grateful that you've both chosen to play the sport I love. It has provided me a great opportunity to stay involved and watch both of you mature into good, strong players in your own right. Lastly, thanks for all your patience with Dad telling you how he used to do it. I love you both. To my beautiful wife, Julie, you've been with me through it all, starting in junior. Your love, care, and support has been second to none. Thanks for being so patient on game days when I was a bit of a grump. Thanks for sacrificing a lot of long weekends and summer holidays while I played for the Adnacks every Saturday night into late August. Thanks for your support and teamwork as we started and raised our young family while I was still playing. Thanks for being my biggest fan. When we won the Mann Cup in 2001, I know that you were just as happy for me as I was for myself. Thanks for being you. I love you. Mom and Dad, as a child and lacrosse player, growing up, I couldn't ask for better parents. We didn't have a lot of money, but my mom and dad always made sure we had what we needed to play sports. I remember one of our first tournaments on Vancouver Island when everyone stayed in the hotel and we stayed in our motorhome in the parking lot. I don't think I appreciated it back then, but now that I have a family of my own, I understand the sacrifices my parents made so I could play. In the early days, my dad was always there attending all practices and games and taking me to the box whenever I wanted to go, putting popsicle sticks in my catgut to keep it straight, putting shoe goop on the end of the stick to protect the leather. My dad was always there. As a junior and senior, I don't think my parents missed a game. They were fixtures in the Coquitlam Arena. At the induction ceremony last year, I was having a conversation with the great Bill Bradley, and he said it best, and I'm paraphrasing, said, "I miss seeing your parents up at the rec center. It's not the same when you look over at their seats. They should have retired those seats." Again, one of those things you take for granted when you're playing, but now that I've retired, I really appreciated looking up each and every game and seeing my parents there to support me. And after every home win, my dad would buy me a pint of beer and have it waiting in the lounge after the game. Last but certainly not least, my mom. And I wanted to leave this to the end, as this might be a little tough. We lost my mom a year ago. I know today she would be very proud. I'll always remember the day that Dave Evans called me to let me know I'd been inducted into the Hall of Fame. His timing couldn't have been better, as I was out with my dad for the day. So we got to enjoy the news together. Dave mentioned that he had heard about the passing of my mom and that my induction may have been a year too late. Dave, it's never too late. I know my mom is up there looking down, very proud, and I'm standing here tonight, supportive like she was for my entire career and my life. Thank you very much.
I just noticed when Brunsch was thanking Paul, he neglected to thank him for teaching him how to run up the side of Burnaby Mountain time after time after time. That's selective memory.